Hello there, welcome back to my channel, Snips by Kelly. I'm Kelly and tonight I have a masculine design idea for you here, a two-page layout that uses traditional masculine icons. We're using the Take to the Sky Suite collection on page 36 and 37 of our brand new catalog that launched in May. Now I created a two-page layout with this in my last process video, and we went full on airplanes, but we toned down the very specific theme by giving it a more general title, Our Greatest Adventure, so that it could be travel, it could be boy, it could be baby. And I have some of these great pattern papers left, or the DSP as they call it in Stampin' Up. I was looking through the catalog for some scrapbooking ideas, and I found these great wildly flowering dies. Now I love the collection, but I really love the dies, and I'm actually doing a video in a couple weeks that is a walkthrough of the catalog from a scrapbooker's perspective, looking for things that would be great for scrapbooking. So looking at the size of these dies on cards, they would be amazing on a scrapbooking layout, and I love the stitching around them and the different shapes around the outside of those elongated hexagons. So I thought I could use hexagons on this layout. I actually did order that set, but it isn't here yet because we were only allowed to order 4 days ago. And so I'm waiting for them to come. So I actually made these hexagons on the Cricut at 2 3/4 by 2.5. And I used some of the great patterns that we have left from this collection from the last layout. So we have some copper clay airplanes. We have some boho blue designs. I used a little bit of charcoal paper, which I did some conversions last time. And so you could use for charcoal just some basic gray. Now digging back in my close to my heart stash, we had some awesome stitched hexagons. They were Z3678. I know many of my paper crafters have those. They're not as elongated, but they have a great stitching around those, and those would work if you don't want to make them on the Cricut or you don't happen to have the wildly flowering collection. I'm so excited about the wildly flowering collection because you get several different sizes of hexagons and you get designs around the outer edges. So I'm using my new Stampin' Up! Cutter, and I love that it goes out to 17 inches. I also love that the scoring blade and the cutting blade are on the same rail, and so I don't have to do my scoring and my cutting separately. And I'm actually going to gut a sapphire paper, pattern paper, and I'm gutting it by 1 inch. Now, I don't always show the gutting, but once in a while I do, because there's always a new person out there that says they didn't know how to do it. So you're going to put your blade at 1 inch, go down to 11 inches, rotate, start at 1 inches, go down to 11 inches, rotate again, 1 inch to 11 inches, and then one last time, rotate 1 inch to 11 inches. And you're only doing this to conserve paper. And so I'm going to have two gutted frames in the background. So you can use Night of Navy if you have Stampin' Up! Cardstock, or you can use Sapphire if you have Close to My Heart cardstock. I'm going to add a couple white daisy pieces, 11.5 by 11 3/4. I want those flush against the inside edges, but to have a little border all the way around. A lot of times I do boxy, and I love a frame inside a frame. It's a classic look, and it's probably a signature for me that I maybe overuse because I love it so much. I just think the border makes the page pop, and I love that with frames around my photos as well. But I'm going to put these two flush on the inner edge and then have that little border around the outside. So I'm just going to put a little adhesive on the interior of the frame, and then I'm going to add those two pieces. I'm loving this collection. I think I mentioned in the last video that, this is my first week as a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I've only been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for 4 days, so I am a grasshopper, and I'm learning from so many Stampin' Up! Demonstrators about their products, and they have amazing things. So I'm hoping to use 5 3x4 photos, and I did make a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch photo mat for each of those out of the Sapphire, or again, you can use Night of Navy if you're using Stampin' Up! Colors. And I wanted to have a couple of them in a horizontal orientation and a couple of those in a vertical orientation. I'm not exactly sure where these are going to go, but I'm going to sort out my colors here. I actually have one hexagon that is about 1/4 of an inch smaller that is made out of white daisy. I was thinking about using it for journaling, and you'll see here in a little bit that I actually use it for something else, but I thought that I would use it for journaling. So I'm just going to try to get some placement, and I'm going to rotate between maybe some more solid looking patterns and then some more hero looking patterns, or hero means theme specific patterns. So like the airplane patterns would be more hero, they're more busy, they have a very specific theme. But the cool thing about Stampin' Up!, which was the same cool thing about Close to My Heart, is their DSP, or pattern paper as we called it, is double-sided as well. One thing that I'm loving so far about Stampin' Up! Is you get double the sheets of paper. So instead of just 6 sheets, you get 12 sheets of DSP, or designer series paper, as they call it in Stampin' Up! And I'm loving having the extra. It allows me to be able to use frames. It allows me to be able to cut more out of that. I get pretty chintzy with my paper, and that's why I learned how to gut everything out. And also, like you can see here, where the photos are, it's blank underneath, because I don't want to waste paper underneath that isn't going to show. So I'm sort of making a little bit of an upper to the left to the lower right there, a little cascade of those. And I do know there's some spaces, but I'm going to fill those spaces in with something, like I don't know what. So on my last process video that I launched today, actually, and you should check that out, because I do have a full workshop guide with my layout that I just launched this morning, and I did a free guide and a free design space file for that, and I linked that to my shareable files on my Stampin' Up! Website in my resources, and so you can check that out on my video. I'll link that here. You can grab that and you can make the first layout in my workshop. A lot of times I just do a process video on one layout out of my workshop, and I'm actually doing 2. This is the second one in my workshop, because I wanted to give you a feel for a more general layout out of a theme specific paper. So I do have an extra hexagon. I hope I'm saying that right. I hope these are hexagons. I'm absolutely horrible at that kind of thing. And it seems like that's something a 5th grader would know, but for some reason, I don't know the names of some of the shapes. And my grandkids, oh my gosh, polyhedron, polygon, hexagon, they know all the things. They're just so smart. But anyway, it's a cute shape is what it is to me. So I'm just doing, again, a little bit of arranging. And then when I get to the final placement, I'll let you know where I placed the first one. Oftentimes, it's great to get your anchor and then build outward or backward or to the side. And then it really helps you get placement once you get one of those in place. So I'm just loosely placing those, because we'll probably do some treatments, like maybe on the left-hand side and then maybe on the upper, kind of trying to figure out a visual triangle. You know, I want the bits to maybe come across the page in a diagonal, so it draws your eye across the important photos, right? Sometimes we want to draw the eye across the photos. Sometimes we want to draw the eye across the journaling. It just depends on what you really want to focus on in your layout. I'm kind of thinking that I want the left photos to be sort of in the middle between the 2 right photos, so that it's not too high, it's not too low, it's kind of in the middle, and then toggle those 2 photos on the right and then have another photo a little lower. It seems like I have a little bit of a theme with this airplane theme, and that's cascading. So I don't know what this stamp is called in the in the Adventurous Sky stamp set. It's a cling stamp, and I was calling it corrugated steel. I don't know where I got that. I just made that up. But it looks like the planks on the side of a vintage plane that has like the bolts in the side of it. And so I was working on maybe using one of the colors from the collection. So they have Copper Clay, Mossy Meadow, Boho Blue, Night of Navy, and Smoky Slate. So we have this great resource that Stampin' Up! Made for us, and I'll link it in the description because it's amazing. And I gave this to all of my paper crafters, and it helps give you a cheat sheet of colors that could work for others. So for example, basic gray for charcoal, we have pecan pie for toffee. We have the smoky slate, which is actually gray granite with mink, and then smoky slate, I think, was that for basic gray. And so they have corresponding colors between the Close to My Heart colors and the Stampin' Up! Colors, and I love that. I love that we can go back and forth. I have colors in both now, and I probably will eventually have all of the Stampin' Up! Colors. But I also want to encourage the use of our existing Close to My Heart colors for my paper crafters. So I have my Close to My Heart larger blending brush next to the smaller blending brush in Stampin' Up! And I love both sizes. Stampin' Up! Has a large and a small. I also just wanted to show you I'm using my stamp chamois off screen, and this is my stamp chamois from Close to My Heart and my aerated stamp chamois case. And I also have the stamp chamois from Stampin' Up! And it's thicker and it's harder to get softened. It takes a lot of water, but once you get it softened, it stays moist a really long time. And I do love that. And a viewer out there turned me on, I think it was a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, turned me on to putting it in an old case. So now look at the catalog, and the corrugated steel stamp looks to me like it's on the edge of some kind of a die. I think it's on the edge of these wildflower dies. I can't tell. And I looked all the way through the catalog to try to see what it might be on, but they did something so neat. They made that corrugated stamp go all the way around so that the elongated hexagon could be in the middle. And I think it's wildly flowering dies used with the Take to the Sky set. I think, I don't know, but I ordered that wildly flowering set of dies, and I'm totally going to try it. I think that's it. I love the stitching on the outside, and I love how they put that corrugated steel stamp on it, and then they made the hexagon middle. It's super cool. So I thought I could use it with a little bit of Mink ink and maybe do a little bit of a visual triangle, or just do a little bit of underneath stamping underneath some of those hexagons. And again, on the cheat sheet that Stampin' Up! So generously made us, Mink and Gray Granite go together. Gray Granite is a little darker, maybe like a half a shade, so you could always stamp off in, I think they call it stamping off in Stampin' Up!, and we call it second generation. So you stamp once and then stamp again, stamp once on scrap paper and then stamp off again. So if you wanted it to be super light. And then I thought I would use my mini ink blending brush and just go around the edges of my journal piece that I actually end up using for something else. And then I'm going to do all of the hexagons, I think, just to take that sharp edge off. And I feel like the rustic plains are like a vintagey vibe and a little distressed vibe, and a little dirtying up would never hurt in a classic collection like this. So I'll do the rest of these off camera, but I'm just going to use my mini ink blending brush with some Mink ink and go around all the edges of all of those hexagons, and I love it. I love the way that looks. Now I think we'll go ahead with the mini ink blending tool. This is the Stampin' Up! One. And we'll just dirty up that stamping, and we'll just dirty that up a little bit. A lot of it will be covered, but it's going to tie all in with masculine. I don't know why. Poor guys. We're always like thinking dirty when it comes to guys, like they're always like grubby or something. It's not that. It's rustic. It's just kind of giving it a hazy little vibe, a little masculine texture in the background. And we're not picking on you guys if there's any guys out there watching, but I love that look, and I think that's going to go great. And hexagons are classic masculine. I know that I have used hexagons for feminine, and when we look at this collection that I bought, Wildly Flowering, all of that is florals, wildflowers, and the hexagons go with that super well. But I always sort of attribute hexagons to masculine. I don't know why. So when it came to actually lining these up, I lined up the center on the right page, and I started on the left center and worked upward to the upper center. And then I also used that the copper clay airplanes over on the right page as my grounding, and then I worked up and down from that one. And the reason I chose those is they're on the outer edge. So if I had started at the top, I might not have gotten it, in line, and then I might have went off the page. And I wanted to know where to start. And then on the top ones, they end up actually being around, I think the one on the left, it's kind of a Night of Navy and boho blue mix. The one that's on the upper left of the left page starts at 3 1/4, and then the gray geo grid on the right page and the top kind of hits at about 4 inches, if that helps. But I'm actually not really so concerned about measurements. I'm more concerned about just having about the right spaces in between the hexagons. Now I decided to pop up all the photos, and this is a Kelly thing. I love dimension. I love to pop up away from the paper. It's pretty incredible when you can't really put your finger on what you love about a layout. To me, it's multi-level, it's dimension. Other people love flush, flat, smooth, no bumpies in their page protector. And I always say, it's a famous thing I say, you do you, boo. If you love it flush, keep it flush. If you are like me and you love foam tape, you love dimension. These are the dimensionals, which I think are kind of in between our highest 3D foam in close to my heart and our skinny 3D foam. And the dimensionals to me seem like they're kind of in the middle maybe. And so it's a good compromise. Like they're not popped up so high, but they're also not super low. So now I'm arranging the photos on the left so that they sort of hit in the middle of the two photos on the right, and it sort of doesn't catch your eye then. I think it helps your eye to go all the way across smoothly. And then I'm going to go ahead and just place that little journaling piece over there. And I do have an extra hexagon. I don't know if we'll need it or not, but I thought if there's any gaps, then I'll definitely use it for something. So I'm digging through my distressed airplanes, and on my previous video, my layout one, Take to the Sky layout for a video that I did the distressing, and I went into great detail on that, so I'll link that in the description. But for the planes that I'm using on this layout, they are all rubbed lightly in Sapphire ink, which would be your Night of Navy, with Stampin' Up! Night of Navy, but really light. In fact, I would rub off, and then especially if you use Night of Navy, because it's about maybe a titch, like a quarter of a shade darker than our Sapphire. And so I would rub off on scrap paper and then rub lightly on each of the airplanes, and I end up using a small, medium, and a large airplane. At this point in the video, I'm not sure which ones I'm going to use, but I end up using a small, medium, and large. And so rub gently with a little Sapphire and then go around the edges with Toffee or Pecan Pie if you're doing Stampin' Up! Colors. And then I do a little bit of inking with Desert Rose on some different airplanes that I'm not using today, because it sort of gives it a copper clay look. So it sort of ties it into the Stampin' Up! Colors. But today I'm just using the ones with a little bit of Mink on the propellers, which would be, Mink would be gray granite, and then a little bit of Sapphire or Night of Navy on the body, and a little bit of Toffee or Toffee or pecan pie. So pretty soon I'm just going to use one color name and I'm going to say refer to the chart because Stampin' Up! Gave us this great chart. I love it. I've been using it and I'm really learning from it. Like I'm learning color names. I thought I am never going to get these Stampin' Up! Color names, especially because every color has two names. And so I thought this is a tongue twister, but I'm starting to get them, at least the ones in the collections that I've used. So I don't have hardly any product yet. We were only able to order like 4 days ago, but I have a lot coming and I'm so excited. I do have a video coming with the in colors that I worked on that I'm part of a collaboration on. I think that's going to drop here in about 5 days. Super bright, super colorful, and super fun. And we have a great in color a special that's going on right now. Sign up to be a demonstrator and you get this in color bundle that includes the markers, the ink, I think some paper. I can't remember what all, but I'll link it in the description if you want to check it out. Maybe you want to become part of the Snapshots team. I have an awesome team called the Snapshots with creative, wonderful, kind, fun, funny ladies. And so we'd love to have you on the Snapshots team if you want to check out that special. Okay, I'm arranging, I'm playing. I went with Sapphire clouds. So I've got a large, medium, and 2 small sapphire clouds. With sapphire paper or Night of Navy, I went with a mink cloud, which again is gray granite. And then I think I went with one charcoal cloud, which again is basic gray. And I stamped all of those in intense black, which is Memento ink in Stampin' Up! And then I distressed all of those edges. You could do a gray, like gray granite edges, but I actually did toffee on my edges. Now I'm loving the bits. I'm not sure where I'm going to keep them, but look at the tags. And I showed this in my last video. We have 3x4 cut apart cards. And then we have these tags, which actually come out to 2 inches, but they're way long. And I was thinking, gosh, that's a lot of tag. I don't need that much tag because typically tags are tucked under. So I think I might cut those tags in like 3/4 or a 1/4 or a 1/2 and get double the tags out of those. And I'll show you how I like to fold those over and do those. So they have the lines embedded in them. They've pre-printed them for us so we can cut the corners off of each of the tags. And I kind of pulled out the ones that I thought that I might be able to use on this layout. And I love the patterns on them, and I love that they make extra bits. And that's what I'm missing with my sticker sheets from Close to My Heart. I'm missing extra bits because we got lots of extra bits from stickers that we could cluster with and that we could add, but we are getting stickers in September. So Stampin' Up! Is launching a full force 12x12 scrapbooking line with scrapbooking workshop kits, and we'll get to see the first one in September. And yes, there's a sticker sheet inside. I'm so excited. There's still scrapbooking Stampin' Thin Cut. There's a scrapbooking Stampin' Thin Cut that goes with it, but there's also stickers. So hooray for bits. You know I love my bits. So I'm folding these in half gently on the grain so that it doesn't make a crease, folding it over and using the other side to make a double tag. Then I can use a hole punch and I can punch out the hole and we can get double the tags out of each of the tags on those cut aparts. I don't know if they call those pocket cards. We used to call ours Picture My Life cards or cut aparts. So we would have sets of cards 3x4 and 4x6. And I know in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, we have 3x4 and 4x6. I think they call them pocket scrapbooking cards. I do. So I actually decided that that's a lot of pattern on pattern. So I'm making a 2-inch strip out of the Sapphire or Night of Navy cardstock. And I'm just going to use one of these tags and make a sapphire tag. I'm guessing. I'm just going to cut it and then it's going to get tucked under. Now I did find some twine. I think we might have gotten this as a giveaway in a swag bag. And it's really thick, fun twine. And I actually open it up and it's called 2023-2025 in color jute trim. So it must be from like last year's and the year before's in colors. And they actually had a color that to me matched the copper almost exactly. It matched the copper clay. And the other that it matched, I think, was boho blue. And I thought, well, maybe I'll use that on these tags. So I thought maybe I'll use that, or maybe I will use the industrial trinkets. I'm loving the industrial trinkets. I used those on my last layout and they're super fun. And they just have a really cool masculine vibe. It feels like a bolt, but it is just, I love it. I love it I think it would be great for tons of masculine pages and masculine cards. And I love that on the top of the tags, but I thought, you know what? I'm going to try this jute and see what it looks like. So I put some of the, and I don't even know what the in colors were for 2023, 2025, because I've only been a demonstrator for 4 days, but I'm guessing it was these. So I'm guessing it was maybe copper clay and maybe it was boho blue. I don't know. And so I put one of each of those on the tags, and then it's time to figure out how we're going to fill in the spaces. So here's where I make the versatility. So on my last layout, in my last process video, I added a title that said Our Greatest Adventure. So that then turned the theme specific airplanes into a travel layout or a baby layout or a boy layout just by changing the title. So I'm doing the same thing with this one by saying the sky is the limit. Now it could be graduation. Now it could be a promotion. Now it could be many other things, a boy layout. Now it could be many other things besides just airplanes. Many people are very literal and they think if there's an airplane in a layout, it has to be about an airplane show or about the Air Force or about, seeing an old vintage plane, but it's actually just a fun masculine theme, a boy theme, a masculine theme, an outdoor theme. This could even be a mountain page. I think it could be something like climbing a mountain. It could be, even with the sky is the limit, it could be a hike. There's so many things that you could do with this if you think outside of the box with those airplanes. I love the airplanes and I love the airplane theme, but you probably don't need tons of an airplane theme, right? So this could be travel, this could be hiking, this could be little boy, this could be big boy, this could be just a good generic masculine, this could be actually for real travel, this could be Air Force or some kind of military. So many things with this layout. So I actually end up pulling the jute back out. It was worth a try, and I do love the jute for something, just not for this. So now I'm adding the propeller. So I made the propeller out of silver foil. You have silver foil in Close to My Heart and Stampin' Up. Our silver foil paper is retired. So if you loved it and you're so excited about it, they actually in Stampin' Up have both silver foil and they actually have some other foil papers that are textured that have like a coppery feel. And I think you're going to love those because I miss our Close to My Heart silver foil. It retired. And so I'm so happy we have that available to us in Stampin' Up now. I actually am adding a Sapphire or Night of Navy propeller to the medium airplane. And then I added the silver foil propeller to the large airplane, adding a few little clouds off to the side, sort of offsetting those a little bit, and then making the little plane look like it's flying through. Now on that large airplane on the upper right of the left page, I kind of did something funky. I adhered the left side of the plane down really, really tight with a really good adhesive. And the right side of the plane, I put some dimensionals, some foam tape underneath. So it kind of looks like it's lifting out of the sky. Just a silly thing to do, but I thought it looked kind of cool to do that so that it wasn't just popped up straight across and it wasn't just flush. It's like that upper part of the airplane, that top wing is going forward, so it actually looks like it's lifting off out of the page, and I thought that was sort of a fun technique. Let's see here. So now I'm adding some glue dots to the industrial the industrial embellishments there. I keep forgetting what they're called, industrial trinkets. And I love using the glue dots. I think that's really going to secure them. I was a little worried about liquid glue. Our old liquid glass from Close to My Heart, I think, might do the trick. And I'm sure they probably have an industrial type of adhesive in Stampin' Up! As well. But the glue dots are working great. Grabbing some bitty sparkles out of my stash. So any clear sparkle or silver sparkle that you have from Stampin' Up! Will do as well. Hooray! I'm getting happy. I hope you're getting happy and that you can see with the Take to the Sky Sweet collection that you can have generic masculine pages, you can have airplane pages, graduation pages, little boy pages, big boy pages, and all kinds of masculine fun. I hope you enjoyed this process video and you'll tune in again next time. Won't you hit subscribe, like, the notifications bell, and I love your comments. It's really what keeps me going on YouTube and it keeps me sharing. Thanks so much for sharing the love of paper crafting with me and helping me transition over to my new position with Stampin' Up! As a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. You can check me out again right here on Snips by Kelly. Bye-bye.